Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are on our way to Canterbury. Canterbury is a historic English cathedral city and UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is a local government district of Kent and lies on the River Stour. Canterbury as a city has its origins in the Roman settlement of Durovernum Cantiacorum, established in the 1st century AD after the Roman invasion of 43 AD. So we are 7 miles away from Canterbury. And Canterbury is located in Kent, in the southeast of England. Hello everybody, we are just 2 miles from Canterbury, and I am with my lovely wife and my sister-in-law, and we are going to Canterbury for a 4 days holiday. So we'll see you there in the next couple of minutes. So our accommodation for 3 nights in Canterbury is called St. Stephen's Guest House, located just walking distance from the center of Canterbury. St. Stephen's Guest House is a 3-star guest house, which is a Tudor-style building with 8 in-suite bedrooms and 1-bedroom self-contained apartment in an annex, offered on a self-catering basis. Conveniently located for Canterbury city centre and the cathedral, it is just a 10-minute walk to the high street along the River Stour and a 10-minute walk from Canterbury West railway station. St. Stephen's is also very close to the University of Kent and a similar distance to Christ Church University. It is a family-run accommodation, and it offers comfortable accommodation in a warm and friendly atmosphere so that you can relax and enjoy your stay in Canterbury, whether for business or leisure. So this is the dining room of St. Stephen's Guest House. So there are 5 tables in here. It's nice, cozy place. And then the dining room overlooks the garden and the street outside. Okay, lots of stairs going up, and this is the main reception area of St. Stephen's. Okay, we'll pass through here. This is the garden of St. Stephen's. As we approach the city center, the imposing figure of Canterbury's Westgate Tower is impossible to miss. The great stone gates have marked the entrance of the city since 1380, and thousands of tourists pass through them every day. The largest and the finest of the country's surviving medieval gateways, the Westgate was built during the 100 Years' War to defend Canterbury from foreign incursion. The Romans were the first to build a wall around Canterbury when they arrived in Canterbury in 300 AD. The gate had a great strategic importance due to its location on the road to London. The 60-foot-high stronghold fell into disarray for 100 years when the Romans left. The gate was rebuilt in 1380, converted into a prison, and then into a police station. At the start of the 20th century, the Westgate became a museum. We took a walk along the Westgate Gardens. It is an attractive public garden laid out along the banks of the River Stour at the west end of the old city walls of Canterbury. At the northern end of the gardens is the historic Westgate to the city. The gardens follow the course of the Roman city wall. There are no traces of the wall today, for during the Civil War the walls were destroyed and the stone plundered for building projects. In the garden is an old medieval archway, which may have been brought here from the ruins of St. Augustine's Abbey. A plaque in the garden marks the site of the old Roman London Gate. One of the most photographed historic buildings in Canterbury, the Old Weaver's House, is a gorgeous, half-timbered building on the River Stour. The river quite literally laps at the side of the building, which currently houses a popular restaurant. The Old Weaver's House takes its name from the influx of Flemish and Huguenot weavers who settled in the area after fleeing from religious persecution during the 16th and 17th centuries. Elizabeth I granted the Flemish weavers the right to establish their businesses in Canterbury, and they are known to have used this and other similar buildings nearby. At the rear of the Old Weaver's House is a medieval docking stool jutting out over the river. This docking stool was historically used as a method of punishing scolds, women accused by their husbands of talking back too much. The stool may also have been used as a more severe punishment for suspected witches. The suspected witch was dunked under the water and held there for several minutes. If she did not drown, she was proved to be a witch. If she drowned, at least her name was cleared. Geoffrey Chaucer was a medieval English poet, writer, and philosopher, and was one of the best English poets of all time. He is considered a father of the English language and literature, and is best known for his work, The Canterbury Tales. The plinth of this statue depicts the characters featured in Chaucer's prologue to the Canterbury Tales, but their faces are represented by locals with Canterbury connections. There are 29 pilgrims mentioned in the Canterbury Tales, which tells the stories of pilgrims traveling from London to visit the shrine of St. Thomas Becket in Canterbury Cathedral. Actor Orlando Bloom, who was born in Canterbury, is depicted at the front of the plinth as a young squire, along with other locals. Up ahead is the Marlowe Theatre. It is a 1,200-seat theatre in Canterbury named after playwright Christopher Marlowe, who was born and attended school in the city. It was named a Stage Awards 2022 UK Theatre of the Year. Right outside the Marlowe Theatre in Canterbury is a giant mask, officially named the Bulkhead. It was created by sculptor Rick Kirby. It was inspired by a line from Christopher Marlowe's play, Dr. Faustus, which reads, "The face that launched 1,000 ships." Kirby created it using scrap metal pieces from ships along the Kentish coast. It may not look like a hospital, but this is the East Bridge, or the Hospital of St. Thomas the Martyr. East Bridge, to give it its full name, is not a hospital as we use the word today. It was, and is still, a hospital in the original sense of the word, a place of hospitality. Since its foundation in the 12th century, the Archbishop of Canterbury has been the patron. Originally created to provide for pilgrims visiting the tomb of St. Thomas Becket for over 800 years, the East Bridge has given shelter and help to pilgrims, soldiers, local societies, and school children. The Binney House of Art and Knowledge. The building takes its name from its benefactor, Dr. James George Binney, a Canterbury-born man of modest background who studied medicine before emigrating to Australia, where he found his success. Upon his death in 1891, Dr. Binney left money in his will to the city of Canterbury to build an institute for working men, with amenities for men from poor backgrounds, such as his own. His patronage was fundamental in building the Binney Institute, a new home for the Canterbury Royal Museum and Free Library, now known as the Binney House of Art and Knowledge. Whether you are a frequent library user, a teacher on a school's workshop, or an inquisitive explorer studying our treasures from the ancient worlds, the Binney is a building for everyone. Located just a few steps from Canterbury Cathedral, in a cobbled street, this 15th century hotel is steeped in history, with former guests including Charles Dickens. Formerly known as Little Inn and made famous by Charles Dickens in David Copperfield, it was transformed back to this stylish hotel in 2006. The Great Fire in 1865 destroyed many of the timber-framed buildings in Sun Street, Guildhall Street, High Street, and Mercery Lane block, but luckily this building was saved from the flames. This is the Crooked House. As Charles Dickens quoted in 1849, the Crooked House is a very old house bulging over the road, leaning forward, trying to see who was passing on the narrow pavement below. The Crooked House looks as if it is about to tumble over. Its skewed facade stops many visitors in their tracks. Built in the 17th century, the Crooked House's strange appearance has sparked a few stories. Some claim that it inspired a passage in Dickens' David Copperfield. The Crooked House is perched at the end of Palace Street, near the center of Canterbury, and within earshot of the bells of the cathedral. Today, a steel frame keeps it in place, but the site gives the building a dizzying effect. On 29 December 1170, four knights met at a house near Canterbury Cathedral to discuss a plan, the result of which was the murder of Thomas Becket, Archbishop of Canterbury, a deed which changed the course of history and changed the fortunes of Canterbury itself. The place where the knight met is reputed to be Conquest House on Palace Street. At that time, Conquest House was owned by a man called Gilbert the Citizen. The knights initially left their servants and weapons in Conquest House, while two of their number entered Bishop's palace by force and remonstrated with Becket, trying to get him to remove the excommunication he had placed over several of the king's supporters. Becket didn't succumb to their threats. The knights returned to Conquest House and gathered their weapons. They entered the cathedral and killed Archbishop Becket. This square is more than 800 years old. The name Buttermarket was first used about 200 years ago. Previously, the name was Bull Steak. Bulls were tied and baited with dogs, both for fun and also because it was believed that it made the flesh more tender. In the middle of the square is a war memorial to honor the lives of the men from Canterbury who died in the Great War. So we are hungry and tired, and my wife wants to eat at Nando's, so we're going to Nando's now. Nando's, here we go. Let's get in.
Chicken nga. Gamay lang wings. Niwan na, niniwan ka.
Thank you.
Pati chicken, gano'n.